The Forsaken Heir. Previous episodes are available on the playlist. You can also visit our website for your favorite stories. A link is provided in the video description. Episode 54. Deep down in Delon's heart, at this moment, he has already regretted it. I shouldn't have more expensive gifts than Charlie. In this comparison, he actually had to perform a swallowing ruby stunt now. But with Isaac here, he really didn't dare to cheat, so he gritted his teeth and said, I, Delon, have always been willing to bet. He looked at Warnia and said with an extremely depressed expression, Miss Warnia, please lend me the ruby necklace I gave you. When Warnia heard this, her face was extremely ugly. What do you mean by lending it to you? Will you pay me back when you run out? She felt sick for a while, and hurriedly handed him the gift box, and said very seriously, Mr. Kevin, please take the gift back. Delon also realized at this time that he had said something wrong, but he wanted to swallow the necklace in public. There was no doubt that he could only pull it out after swallowing it. He couldn't pull it out by himself and then wash it and return it to Warnia, right? Thinking of this, his expression was extremely ugly, but he could only bite the bullet and said, I'm sorry, Miss Warnia, I will look for a more expensive gift for you another day. Please forgive me. Warnia hurriedly waved her hand and said, no need, Mr. Kevin, I will accept your wishes, but there is no need to give gifts. Delon knew that he had been disgusted, and his expression was very depressed. At this moment, Charlie smiled calmly and urged, Mr. Kevin, everyone is waiting for you to finish eating, so don't chirp here. Delon's face was dark, he gritted his teeth, looked at the huge ruby necklace, and felt nervous. It is probably difficult to swallow this stuff raw. If he can get some oil, it will be better. So he opened his mouth and said to Grandpa Song, Grandpa Song, please ask the chef to get me some olive oil. Grandpa Song nodded lightly, and instructed the butler Boyu, go to the back kitchen and bring Mr. Kevin a bottle of olive oil. Boyu quickly walked over with an unopened bottle of olive oil, and respectfully handed it to the third young master of the Kevin family. Charlie said with a faint smile, it seems that Mr. Kevin is still very knowledgeable. He knows that drinking more oil in it can lubricate your esophagus and intestines, so that your 20 million ruby necklace will be in and out more comfortably. When everyone heard Charlie's words coming in and out freely, they couldn't help but laugh. When Delon heard this, his face suddenly became extremely ugly. This Charlie really didn't know good or bad, so he was so dying. After the incident, he must kill him. At this time, Isaac reminded impatiently, Mr. Kevin, I can't wait. If you don't eat this, then I can send the video to East Cliff's Circle. When he heard this, Delon said quickly, Isaac, don't worry, I'll eat it. After speaking, he gritted his teeth and opened the bottle of olive oil, took a deep breath, and drank half a bottle into his stomach. Afterwards, he poured some oil on the palm of his hand, rubbed the necklace shiny, and then closed his eyes and stuffed the necklace into his mouth. Everyone observed at him intently, and even some good people had already taken out their phones and filmed the whole process of swallowing his necklace. He looked very painful, but he still swallowed desperately. When he felt a little difficult to swallow, he poured the remaining half bottle of olive oil into his mouth. Then, as the olive oil lubricated and washed, the necklace was finally swallowed by him. Charlie was the first to applaud, and said with a smile, "Mr. Kevin really has a special talent, so I admire him very much." Delon's expression wretched, so he hurriedly stood up and asked Father Song, "Grandpa Song, where is the bathroom?" At this time, Delon's first thought was to induce vomiting and spit out the necklace. If you can spit out the necklace, it's better than pulling it out, right? Boyle hurriedly said, "Mr. Kevin, please come with me, I will take you to the bathroom." Delon stood up immediately, followed with a step. When he arrived in the bathroom, Delon plucked his throat, forced a burst of nausea, and continued to induce vomiting. Several times, he could feel the necklace in his throat, but he couldn't vomit it alive or dead. Delon tried hard several times, and every time he held his face flushed, even black and purple. In the end, his throat and his esophagus were painful to death, and his whole person lost the strength to induce vomiting. In desperation, he was forced to give up. When he thought that he couldn't spit it out, he might have to pull it out, and Delon felt a flurry of hair all over his body. He even wondered if this thing would get stuck in his intestines. So he immediately took out his mobile phone and called his family doctor. As soon as he spoke, he asked the other person, "Doctor, I swallowed a string of ruby necklaces, and now I can't induce vomiting. If it enters the intestines, it won't kill me, right?" The other party asked immediately, "Third young master, how big is the ruby necklace?" Delon said, "The egg is a bit smaller. It is bigger than a quail egg." The other party asked again, "Is there anything sharp?" Delon thought for a while and said, "Not really." Convenience said, "In this case, you might as well observe it for a day to see if it can be excreted naturally." After speaking, the other party added, "It is best to buy some laxatives and take it, so that it can promote bowel movements and excrete faster." Delon asked him, "What if I can't excrete it?" The other party said, "If you still can't excrete within 24 hours, then you need to pay attention to it, because if you can't excrete it all the time, it is likely to cause intestinal obstruction. Intestinal obstruction is an acute disease, and it may be fatal." After speaking, the other party said, "Or third young master, come here now, and observe it here. Once you find any discomfort, you have to get operate in time. Otherwise, in case of intestinal obstruction, it will be really dangerous." When Delon heard that this thing could not be swallowed and pulled out, it might be fatal, and he was trembling with anger. "What is this? Make a bet, don't tell me if I lose my face, and it's life-threatening." Thinking of this, Delon hated Charlie so much that he wanted to kill him immediately. But the biggest problem right now is the safety of his own life. In case something happens and he confesses his life to this trivial matter because of a bet, then he will lose out. So Delon immediately took out his mobile phone and called the captain of his private jet, "Captain, where are you now?" Delon only took his father's private plane this afternoon and rushed over from Eastcliff. Because he had planned to stay in Orris Hill for a few days, the captain planned to fly the plane back tonight. After all, this plane was used by Delon's father most of the time. What Delon thought was that if the plane had not returned to Eastcliff, he would quickly follow the plane back. Say nothing to let this string of ruby necklace in his stomach kill him. At this moment, the captain of Delon's private jet was preparing to line up for takeoff at Oris Hill Airport. After receiving a call from Delon, he immediately said, "Mr. Kevin, I am in line now, ready to take off to East Cliff." Delon blurted out, "You immediately apply to the tower for a delayed takeoff, and then drive the plane back to the business jet apron. Wait for me, I will return to East Cliff tonight." The captain asked in surprise, "You just came here this afternoon? Didn't you say that you want to stay here for a few days, so why do you want to go back now?" Delon said impatiently, "Don't worry, take the plane back to the business jet apron and wait for me. I will come to the airport now." The captain said hurriedly, "Okay, Mr. Kevin, I will apply to the tower now." When Delon came out of the bathroom with a dark face, Boyo was waiting at the door, seeing him come out and hurriedly and respectfully asked, "Mr. Kevin, how do you feel?" "Not very good." Delon snorted coldly, and said, "Tell your master, I will return to East Cliff first." Boyo exclaimed, "What? Mr. Kevin, are you going back now? The banquet has not officially started yet." "What?" Delon was very annoyed and blurted out, "Tell your old master, I wanted to give the Song family a great opportunity this time. It's a pity that your Song family is really not good for it." After all, Delon directly bypassed the banquet hall and prepared to leave. Boyo knew that Delon must be very angry, so he hurried back to the banquet hall and reported to Mr. Song. When Mr. Song heard that he was leaving, a trace of regret flashed in his expression, but he quickly returned to normal, and said calmly, "Since Mr. Kevin is leaving, let him go." Honor suddenly became anxious, and blurted out, "Grandpa, Mr. Kevin is here this time, but he wants to cooperate deeply with us. How could we let him go like this?" Father Song asked him, "He is leaving, can we still keep him?" "Oh!" Honor said anxiously, "Grandpa, you are confused, you are such a far-sighted person, can't you guess the purpose of Mr. Kevin coming to our house this time?" When Warnya heard this, she blurted out, "Brother, how can you say that to Grandpa?" Warnya had no father and no mother since she was a child. In her eyes, Grandpa Song played not only the identity of grandfather, but also the identity of parents. Therefore, Warnya could not tolerate the slightest disrespect for Mr. Song, even from her cousin. Honor looked at Warnya's eyes, and a trace of hatred flashed by. He said with regret, "Sister, Grandpa, the Kevin family, the reason why they came to our Song family must be because the Wu family's strength is declining. The seat of the first family in Oris Hill has been vacated. The Kevin family must hope to get a foot in it, so I think his purpose for coming to us must be to unite with us, and the Kevin family will support us to become the first family in Oris Hill. In the future, we will also adhere to the Kevin family, which is equivalent to having a strong backer in East Cliff. This is the best of both worlds." In fact, Mr. Song had already guessed the true intention of young Mr. Kevin's coming here. An old hero like him who started from scratch, even though he is very old, he still has a very sophisticated grasp and understanding of the situation. He had long realized that with the decline of the Wu family, the pattern of the Oris Hill family would definitely be reshuffled. The old kings retreat and the new kings stood up. This is the truth of the more ancient history. However, he never thought that the Song family could have the opportunity to become the new king of the Oris Hill family. After all, although the Song family is very strong in Oris Hill, this 1/3 of acres of land, it is indeed weaker in the whole Oris Hill. This time Dalan came over, and he also saw the general intention of Dalan. Dalan must be coveting the beauty of his granddaughter. He wanted to win over the Song family and make the Song family a running dog of the Kevin family, and at the same time wanted to make his granddaughter his own. If it had been before, even if he had seen through all of his goals, he would not refuse his olive branch. After all, such good opportunities are not often available. So many families in the south of the Yangtze River want to be cattle and horses for East Cliff's big family, or even slaves and dogs, but East Cliff's big family doesn't look down on them at all. There are many hidden families in East Cliff, and the wealth behind them is not understandable by these families in Oris Hill. Take East Cliff Wade family as an example. Because Wade family has very strong strength and background, no one of Wade family has made it to any rich list in the world. As long as Wade family is unwilling to appear on the list, then there is no such thing as a ranking of the richest people who dare to write their names on it. Therefore, no one knows how much money the entire Wade family has. There are dozens or hundreds of direct relatives of the Wade family's entire big family. Among these dozens of hundreds, the poorest are worth tens of billions, and the richest are even worth hundreds of billions. If you add up the real strength of this family, it's staggering. This is only the top family in the country. If it is a large family in Europe and the United States with a history of more than 200 to 300 years, the money in their hands is even more wealthy than a country. And like the Wade family, they are extremely low-key and never let their name appear on any rich list. The Rothschild family has been in business for hundreds of years and has countless descendants, but you can't find a single one on the rich list. After all, rich people only have money, and compared with rich and powerful people, that's a lot worse. After all, the Kevin family is not considered a top family in East Cliff, so they will focus on the Oris Hill area. If it were changed to the Wade family, no family in the south of the Yangtze River would be in their eyes. Therefore, if it were to be put in the past, Mr. Song would never give up such a good opportunity to make friends with the East Cliff family. But now he understood it a long time ago. Nothing in this family or that family makes any sense to me. What is really meaningful is the dinner table. This Master Charlie is sitting, who no one knows how deep his strength is. Whether it was out of selfishness for himself, or out of the future of the family, or out of consideration for his granddaughter, he hoped that Warnya could be with Charlie. Because he knew that if he wanted to live a long time, he had to have a good relationship with Charlie. It is meaningless to take a mouthful of Mr. Wade, because everyone respectfully calls him Mr. Wade. Only by turning him into his grandson-in-law can he truly become his own family. And he also knew that if he really hoped that the Song family could go further and longer, and be a dog for everyone in East Cliff, it would be far better to recruit Mr. Wade into the house as his son-in-law. What's more, he also knows the thoughts of his precious granddaughter. She is a precious granddaughter. He is very proud of her. She has never really liked any man, only Charlie. As a grandfather, how can he not hope that she will have a perfect home after petting her and watching her grow up? So no matter how you look at it, Dalan's Wade is 1,000 miles worse than Charlie. Honor was extremely depressed at this time. He really didn't expect that his grandfather would even risk to offend Dalan to court Charlie. Honor is not a fool either, he can see that the reason why the old master takes Charlie so seriously is because he is a little addicted to rejuvenation pill. In other words, the old master gave up the olive branch thrown by Delon and the Kevin family and wanted to please Charlie. This proves that in his eyes, he no longer cares about how much money the family has. What he cares about is how many years he can live. Otherwise, he would never give up the Kevin family and choose Charlie. This made Honor feel very upset in his heart. First of all, if the old master gave up the Kevin family, the Song family lost a good opportunity to rise above and beyond. Secondly, the old master pleases Charlie. If Charlie gives him another rejuvenation pill, then he wants to live as an old fairy? If he never died, when will his father inherit the Song family? If his father can't inherit the Song family, when can he inherit the Song family? He didn't want the old master to live another 30 or 40 years, in which case he would completely collapse. I'm almost 30 this year, and my father is in his early 50s. If he waits 30 years before the old master dies, then his father will be in his 80s when he inherits the Song family. If father lived another 10 years and 8 years, and then handed over the Song family to him, he would be in his 60s or 70s. This is something he cannot accept anyway. He can't wait for the old master to die here today, so that his father will inherit the Song family. His rights will be much greater. I will stay under the hands of my father for another 10 years, and then I will fool him to retire early and give myself the position of head of the house. However, this thing is really hateful. With this thing, the ghost knows when the old master can die. His father, Tianming, was also very upset. He was ready to inherit the family business. The old master was dying before seeing the doctor. He was still faintly happy, and felt that he was finally going to make it out. But never dreamed that Warnya actually found Charlie over. Then things became uncontrollable. At this moment, Mr. Song suddenly stood up and said with a smile, "Everyone, today is the day of the old granddaughter. There is something I want to announce in public." Everyone looked at Mr. Song, wondering what he was going to announce in public. Grandpa Song sighed and said, "Warnya's life is very bitter. When she was very young, her parents passed away one after another. It was me and my deceased wife who pulled her up." Honor and Tianming looked at each other. Neither of them knew what kind of medicine the old master was selling in the gourd. At this time, Mr. Song again said, "Warnya has always been very filial, and has always been very caring about family matters. This is very gratifying to me. And some time ago I was seriously ill and was in bed, and all the doctors announced that I have few days. At that time, Warnya invited Mr. Charlie Wade for me. It was Mr. Wade who healed me and pulled me back from the ghost gate. Then Mr. Wade gave me a revival pill, so that I could re-experience the younger 20 years." Having said this, the old master paused, bowed slightly to Charlie, and said, "The old master is grateful to Mr. Wade, and of course he is also grateful for this good granddaughter. Therefore, the old master wants to announce one thing on her birthday today. It is, he decided that from tomorrow, Warnya will formally take over the position of patriarch of the Song family, and also from tomorrow, he will officially retire." As soon as this remark came out, it suddenly sounded like a bomb in the entire scene. No one had thought that old Master Song would let a female inherit the Song family. After all, there has never been a family, especially a large family, that gives a young woman the position of head of the family. In addition, Mr. Song has several sons and a bunch of grandsons. His eldest son Tianming is already ready to inherit the position of patriarch of the Song family. The outside world originally speculated that Mr. Song would pass on the position of patriarch to him in the next few years, as he is the eldest son. Unexpectedly, not only did he not give it to the eldest son or grandson, but to his granddaughter. Tianming and Honor, father and son, had hatred in their hearts at this time. They never dreamed that Warnya could become the head of the Song family. At this time, their hearts were full of extreme hatred for the old master and Warnya. The old master is too partial, right? Has the 200 billion property left to Warnya to take the helm? Why is a 26-year-old woman in charge of the 200 billion Song family? Warnya was also dumbfounded at this time. She used to only think about serving the Song family well, and doing her best for the family before she married. But she never expected that she could inherit the position of Song family patriarch. At this moment, Warnya's heart is very excited. She is also a very ambitious and enterprising woman. The joy in her heart is beyond words when she hears that she is about to succeed the Song family as the head of the Song family. Honor was a little uncontrollable at this time. He stood up and blurted out, "Grandpa! How can you hand over the position of patriarch to Warnya? She is just a woman. In the future, she will marry someone. Once she marries an outsider, can you watch the Song family's fortune fall into the hands of others?" Father Song looked at him and said coldly, "Warnya is also named Song, and she belongs to the Song family whenever she is, and I believe that in the entire Song family, no one can be compared to Warnya in terms of ability. She comes to take over as the head of the Song family. It couldn't be more appropriate." Tianming said blankly at this time, "Father, I think this matter is really wrong, please think twice." Father Song, the other sons also stood up and said, "Father, please think twice." None of them could accept that the Song family was handed over to Warnya to take charge of the Song family. Mr. Song said lightly, "What's wrong? I founded this family business with my bare hands. I didn't inherit it from anyone, so I have absolute control over the Song family. I will take it. It is given to Warnya after careful consideration, because Warnya will definitely make the Song family better and stronger." Speaking of Mr. Song, he looked around and said to the entire Song family, "All the descendants of my Song family have the right to receive a generous dividend from the Song family. So even if the head of the family is held by Warnya, the Song family's all children and grandchildren can also live without worry. And don't forget that it doesn't matter who inherits the head of the Song family, what matters is who can lead the Song family to become stronger and stronger." After a pause, the old master said with a majestic face, "Take the roommate and his family as an example. They can get 10% of the Song family's dividend rate every year, and if they pay 5 billion a year in dividends, their family can get 500 million, but if one person can lead the Song family to pay 10 billion in dividends a year, then their family can get 1 billion in a year. Don't you want a more capable person to lead you? To make more money?" As soon as Mr. Song said this, those who were still opposed to Warnya's inheritance of the Song family closed their mouths with interest. They want to understand a truth. Anyway, they and their children have no chance to inherit the position of patriarch. If this is the case, they must hope that the patriarch will be inherited by a more capable person. Because the stronger the patriarch's ability, the more money everyone can get. Although honor is pretty good in all aspects, it is still a lot worse than Warnya in terms of ability. Regardless of Warnya's young age, in fact, Warnya can take care of the Song family's business very well. The antique business is prosperous in her hands, foreign trade is also very impressive by her, even the Li Ka-cheng family in Hong Kong feels her luck is very good, and voluntarily ran over to cooperate with her. In terms of strength, Warnya surpassed all the descendants of the Song family, even her uncles. She inherited the words of the Song family, and everyone was convinced to be honest. Thinking of this, these people immediately returned to their seats. Some of Warnya's uncles even said, "Since it is the father's decision, then we have no opinion." Tianming and Honor never expected that the other families would compromise in an instant. All of a sudden, he and his son became isolated and helpless. And what the old master said is too hurtful, right? What do you mean? Could it be said that both of us, father and son, are not as capable as Warnya? Tianming gritted his teeth and said, "Father, according to our Chinese custom, the position of the head of the family has always been passed on from male to male. If you hand over the position of head of the family to Warnya, then you will surely become the laughingstock of the upper class." "Oh?" Mr. Song asked indifferently, "The guests here today are mostly high-class people. Why didn't I see them mocking my decision?" Tianming made a strong argument and said, "That's because they are all guests, so how can you be embarrassed, and they laugh at the host's decision in public?" Mr. Song smiled and said seriously, "Tianming, I know your thoughts. I give Warnya the position of patriarch. You must be unconvinced in your heart, but I still said that. It doesn't matter who is the patriarch. The important thing is who can help the Song family make more money. Warnya has been involved in family operations for a long time, but her achievements are obvious to all. Don't say anything else. If it weren't for Warnya, how could we cooperate with Hong Kong Li Ka-cheng? You have to know that Li Jiaqin and his two sons have at least 800 billion in assets, both overt and secretly. We are cooperating with them now, and there will be great improvement and progress in the future. These are all brought by Warnya to the Song family." Grandpa Song said sentence after sentence, pointed at Charlie, and said seriously, "Including Mr. Wade, our Song family is able to know Mr. Wade, and it is all due to Warnya. Tell me why Warnya can't be the head of the Song family?" Tianming was dumbfounded by Mr. Song's questions. He also knew in his heart that Warnya was indeed strong in all aspects, stronger than his son, and even stronger than himself. But even so, he couldn't bear it, as Warnya became the Song family's patriarch. He couldn't help cursing in his heart, "You Warnya is just a girl movie. Do you really think you are a businesswoman? If you want to be a strong woman, you can get out of the Song family and be your own strong woman outside. Don't stand in my way in the Song family." When he thought of this, Tianming had already gritted his teeth, with murderous intent in his heart. The old master Song seemed to have noticed the dissatisfaction in his elder son's heart, so he looked at Charlie and said respectfully, "Mr. Wade, the old master has an unsympathetic request. I hope you can agree to it." Charlie smiled indifferently, and said, "Mr. Song, please tell me." Mr. Song said, "I hope you can become the second heir to the patriarch of the Song family. If there are any accidents to Warnya in the future? If Warnya does not leave any children, you will be at the helm of the Song family. If you agree, I can now make a promise that in the future 30% of the Song family's net profit will be owned by you, and it will be effective forever." The reason for saying this is because Mr. Song is indeed worried that his eldest son's family will be disadvantageous to Warnya. But he was unwilling to give up his plan because of this. Mr. Song knew very well in his heart that the first thing the Song family wanted to achieve in the future was to let Warnya become the head of the family. If Charlie could become Warnya's husband and join the Song family, it would be perfect. It doesn't matter even if Charlie doesn't want to be married, as long as he and Warnya have a child, that child will have the blood of the Song family. Whether the surname is Song, it doesn't matter to him. What's more, if Charlie becomes his grandson-in-law, he himself can benefit infinitely in the future. Until now, he has not put money interests first, but put his health and lifespan first. So passing on the position of patriarch to Warnya was just one of his plans. He wanted Charlie to be Warnya's husband. Charlie didn't know that Elder Song still had the idea of making him a grandson-in-law in his heart. He just felt that when Mr. Song said so, he must be worried that Warnya would be disadvantaged in the future, so he wanted to bind himself to Warnya and let him ensure Warnya's safety. After all, if you are the second heir of the Song family patriarch, then it doesn't make sense for others to disadvantage Warnya, because even if you kill Warnya, you still have yourself. What's more, even if someone in the Song family wants to covet the position of the patriarch, he has to weigh whether he can provoke him. Mr. Song is indeed very sincere, and he gave 30% of the income of the entire Song family at once, which is really a very big hand. But Charlie is not short of money, nor does he care about money. What he cares about is Warnya's safety and future. In Charlie's heart, Warnya's status is second only to his wife Claire. He didn't know exactly why, but thought that Warnya was really an impeccable woman. Not only does he have a congenial relationship with her, but also have a better temper and acting style. It is not an exaggeration to say that you are a confidant. When he was drinking with Warnya, he also heard that Warnya confided to him that she knew her life experience was rather pitiful. As a girl from a wealthy family, she didn't even have the power to decide her future marriage. So he also hoped that Warnya could become the head of the Song family. In this way, no one can force her to do things she doesn't want to do in the future. Charlie said earnestly, "Master Song, don't worry, I will ensure Warnya's personal safety from now on." At this time, Charlie regarded Warnya as a good friend and was naturally willing to protect her personal safety. And Tianming, honor on the side, at this time, they had murderous intentions deep in their hearts. The two of them, father and son, peeped at the position of patriarch for many years. They couldn't accept anything. Warnya got this position. However, both father and son knew very well. If they want to regain the position of the heir, it is bound to start a fierce battle. Therefore, if this matter does not move, it will be done. If it does move, then victory must be ensured. Warnya was undoubtedly the happiest, most pleasantly surprised and happiest person in this birthday party. At this moment, deep in Warnya's heart, the gratitude and love for Charlie reached a peak. How could a smart woman like her not know Charlie's intention to send her a rejuvenation pills? Who can use rejuvenation pill? Of course it is an old master, and it is an old master. She is only 26 years old this year, and it's useless to ask for this kind of rejuvenation pills. The only use is to give it to grandfather as a gift. And grandpa was obsessed with rejuvenation pill. He should have seen Charlie so easily gave him this rejuvenation pill, and then decided on the spot to pass on the position of patriarch to him. So in this matter, it can be said that Charlie helped him a lot. Warnya has now become the patriarch of the Song family, so this birthday party feels even more grand. At the end of the banquet, the servants of the Song family put out a huge birthday cake. The birthday cake was filled with 26 candles. At the moment when the lights went out, Warnya stood alone in front of the candles, and the swaying candlelight reflected her beautiful face and glamorous things. Warnya put her hands together on her chest, closed her eyes, and silently made her wish. Afterwards, she opened her eyes and looked at Charlie with an affectionate look. At this moment, she felt that Charlie was the sun and moon in her heart. Charlie didn't notice the look in Warnya's eyes. When the lights went out, she was in the dark, so he quietly observed Tianming and Honor father and son with his superhuman vision. At the moment when the lights went out, the father and son who had been pretending to be calm and forced to smile, their expressions became cold for a moment, and then became extremely sullen. It was too difficult for them to hold back their hatred of Warnya in front of everyone. So when the light were out, they couldn't help removing the disguise on their faces. Then the lights came on and there was thunderous applause. Warnya cut the birthday cake, and personally installed 2 copies, one to her grandfather, and the other to Charlie. After eating the cake, the birthday party is over. This birthday party can be said to be a fun for the host and the guests. The other Song family who wanted to understand had no opinion on Warnya's succession as the head of the family. Only Tianming and Honor father and son were very gloomy in their hearts. Paul, who was sitting at the other table, saw that the banquet was over. He stepped forward to Charlie and respectfully said, "Mr. Wade, I'll take you back." Charlie was about to agree, but seeing the beautiful and moving Warnya suddenly appeared in front of the two, she said with a reddish face, "Paul, don't bother you to send Mr. Wade, I will drop him myself." Paul is very smart, so when he saw this, he knew that Warnya must have loved Charlie very much. After all, today is her birthday and the first day she became the heir of the Song family, but after the banquet ended, she took the initiative to send Charlie home. The last person who should not come out to see the guests tonight is her birthday star. What's more, there are so many people with good looks and faces today. She didn't send it to anyone, but only sent Charlie alone, which is more than enough to see how much she values Charlie in her heart. So Paul said wittily, "And just when I remembered, I still have something to do. I didn't go along with Mr. Wade, so please ask Miss Warnya to help Mr. Wade." Warnya nodded and smiled, "Go ahead and take care of it. Mr. Wade is here to take care of me." Charlie smiled slightly, "Your grandpa asked me to take care of you, but now you have to take care of me." Warnya rarely spit out her tongue playfully, and in a very gentle voice, she said shyly, "It's a rare opportunity to take care of Mr. Wade once. Mr. Wade, you must not refuse." Charlie nodded and said, "In this way, Miss Warnya will have to take a trip." At this time, Taylor stepped forward to Charlie, bowed respectfully, and said respectfully, "Mr. Wade, I have been eager to get the rejuvenate the pill for a long time, thank you for giving me this golden opportunity today." Charlie smiled and said, "Mr. Lee doesn't have to be so polite with me. You won the bidding for this rejuvenation pill. Of course, you don't have to thank me." Taylor still arched his body and said respectfully, "Welcome to Mr. Wade, come to hiken another day together, and we must give Mr. Wade a chance to entertain wholeheartedly next time." Charlie nodded and said, "If there is a chance in the future, I will go." After that, he asked Taylor, "By the way, President Taylor, my good brother Zhao Hao, is he working as an assistant for you now? Is he here today?" Taylor nodded and said, "Old Zhao is now my full-time driver. This person is very practical and reliable. Thank you Mr. Wade for introducing me to such a reliable person. Taylor is worthy of being the richest man in Hiken, and his speech is very technical." In fact, he promoted Zhao Hao, who had a monthly salary of only a few thousand, to become his assistant, and had an annual salary of 2 million, which in itself sold Charlie's face. However, he did not dare to take credit for it in front of Charlie. So he, in turn, said that Charlie introduced himself to a reliable person, and he would like to thank Charlie again, which shows that this person has a high EQ. As soon as Charlie heard that the good brother came here today, he hurriedly asked, "Where is Zhao Hao?" Li Taylor said, "The Song family arranged a banquet for the driver. He is in the side hall. He should have been waiting for me in the car by now." Charlie gave a hum, and said, "Just come out with me, and by the way, I also say hello to Zhao Hao." At this time, Zhao Hao has completely lost the appearance of the failed rag. He was wearing a very decent high-end suit and white gloves, sitting in Taylor's customized limited edition Rolls-Royce. Seeing Taylor walked out of the villa, he hurriedly got out of the car, opened the rear door, and prepared to welcome Taylor into the car. At this moment, he suddenly saw his good brother Charlie walking beside his boss. His eyes were instantly overjoyed. These days, Zhao Hao has always been very grateful to Charlie, always looking for an opportunity to thank Charlie, but because he has to accompany Taylor every day, he has no chance to come to Oris Hill again. Now he didn't expect to see a good brother here. Zhao Hao was full of excitement and came to Charlie excitedly. He was about to say hello, but suddenly realized that he is now Taylor's driver, so he can't be so rude. So he hurriedly put away the excitement on his face, and said respectfully to his boss, "Mr. Lee." Taylor patted him on the shoulder and said with a smile, "Zhao Hao, you don't need to be so polite in front of me. You are Mr. Wade's brother, and that is my brother. Although I am many years older than you, we can also pay after year-end." Zhao Hao nodded quickly, flattered. At this time, Charlie smiled and asked him, "How about a rat? Do you still adapt to the new job during this period of time?" Zhao Hao said with gratitude, "Charlie, my good brother, I really don't know how to thank you. Without you, how can I be Zhao Hao today? You are the noble person in my life." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "Everyone will meet a noble person in their life. You think I am your noble person, but I still think that Aunt Lena is the noble person of both of us. Everything is actually karma. You and I have done good deeds in the last life, so in this life, a good person like Aunt Lena rescued us and gave us a home. Maybe you did more good things in your previous life than me, so you met me again in this life and gave you a chance to change your life. In the future, all of this may have been destined, so you have to thank yourself even more. It's you yourself. Charlie suddenly talked about the topic so grandly, the others couldn't keep up with the rhythm. Warnya looked at Charlie, her eyes sparkling with radiance. She carefully savored what Charlie had just said, and suddenly thought, did she save the galaxy in her previous life, so this life will have a chance to meet Mr. Wade? Thinking of this, she couldn't help feeling a little lost in her heart. Because she felt that if she had saved the galaxy in her previous life, then Mr. Wade's wife, Claire, wouldn't it have saved the entire universe in her previous life? Zhao Hao was moved by Charlie's words. This is a good brother who grew up with him since childhood. Even though he helped him so much, he didn't feel that he really owed him anything. Instead, he traced everything back to his previous life. Although my life in the past 2 decades was poor, there is such a man among the brothers of the Dragon and the Phoenix, and the hardship of the past 2 decades is not in vain. At this time, Charlie checked the time and said to Zhao Hao, "Friend, President Taylor, there is still something tonight, so you should drive President Taylor back first. When there is a chance in the future, I will come to Hiken or you will come to Oris Hill. Let us brothers get together again." When Taylor heard this, he waved his hand and said, "Mr. Wade, there is nothing wrong tonight, you and Zhao Hao will continue to talk about the past, don't worry about me." Charlie smiled slightly and said seriously, "Have you forgotten the rejuvenating pill you just bought? Hurry back, take a good bath and take the medicine, sleep well, wake up tomorrow morning, you will find that something happened to you, a rebirth, a great change." Taylor immediately became excited. The rejuvenating pill was always talking, and it was placed close to the body in the inner pocket of the suit. He always wanted to find an opportunity to quickly eat this rejuvenating pill, but he felt that today was on the Song family's site, and it was also the birthday party of Warnya, the eldest of the Song family. If he would serve the rejuvenating pill on the spot, that's overwhelming. That's why he has been enduring preparations to return to his villa in Oris Hill, and then quickly take this rejuvenating pill. Hearing what Charlie said, he clasped his fists in gratitude and said, "Mr. Wade is able to consider Lee so much, and I am grateful. That being the case, then I will leave today." Charlie nodded, hugged gently with his good brother, and watched the two get into the car and leave. Warnya said softly at this moment, "Mr. Wade, let's go too." "Okay, then." Warnya drove Charlie out of the Song family villa in her red Bentley. Warnya's heartbeat accelerated at this time, and she had never been so nervous in front of Charlie like now. The atmosphere in the car was a little silent for a while, so Warnya hurriedly looked for a topic and said, "Mr. Wade, thank you so much today. I really didn't expect that you would give me such an expensive gift as Rejuvenating Miracle." Charlie smiled slightly and said, "I'm telling you that the reason why I gave you the rejuvenation pill is to give you an opportunity to borrow flowers to offer Buddha. With this rejuvenation pill, Mr. Song can live to be at least 100 years old. He must feel special. You want the pill that I gave you, but Mr. Song himself is a person who rewards and penalizes clearly, he is sentimental and righteous, so once he really wants your rejuvenation pill, he will definitely give you a great return." Warnya nodded moved. "Mr. Wade, you are all for Warnya's sake." Warnya is really grateful. In this life, if Mr. Wade has any requirements for Warnya, as long as Mr. Wade has a word, Warnya would not dare to say no. "No way." Charlie smiled and said, "I don't have any requirements for you, you just need to take care of yourself from now on." After speaking, Charlie said again, "I didn't expect that Elder Song would be so simple." At this birthday party, he passed the position of patriarch to you directly. I originally thought he might be soft in the future. It'd solve slowly. Now he suddenly announced that this will definitely be a very big blow to your uncle and your cousin, and it will even bring you a lot of hatred, so you must be very careful in your future actions, be careful and cautious." Warnya said earnestly, "Mr. Wade, don't worry, I understand all that you said." Charlie sighed softly and said, "It may be the rejuvenation pill, which is too attractive to the old master. Therefore, the old master may not think about this matter. What I am worried about is your personal safety in the future. If someone in the Song family is dissatisfied with your inheritance as patriarch, then they are likely to be against you." Warnya smiled sweetly and said, "Thank you, Mr. Wade, for your reminder. Don't forget, I also have a magical medicine that you gave me at the beginning. Isn't that magical medicine that has a life-saving effect at critical times?" Charlie asked curiously, "Where did you put that medicine?" Warnya blushed and said, "The medicine you gave, is always closed to my body." When it came to storing 4 words next to her, Warnya was already ashamed to not look at Charlie. Before, Warnya hid the pill in the car, but she thought it was too unsafe to put such a valuable thing in the car, so she has kept it close to her body ever since. And because this is a gift from Charlie to her, keeping it close to her will give her a feeling of being cared for by Charlie. Charlie didn't notice the girlish shyness on Warnya's face. He just faintly worried about Warnya's safety from the bottom of his heart. So he opened his mouth and said, "By the way, you can help me find a good piece of white jade from Jikingtang another day." "White jade?" Warnya hurriedly asked, "Mr. Wade, what kind of white jade do you want?" Charlie said calmly, "The whitest, purest, and impurity-free white jade. I will make you a talisman by then, and it will keep you safe by wearing it next to your body." Warnya was very excited when she heard that Charlie was going to make a talisman for her. She didn't know what Charlie's amulet was or what kind of effect it had. But she knew that Charlie wanted to make this thing for her, and he wanted to make it himself. The reason that Mr. Wade made it by himself was enough to be grateful. So her eyes were red, and she said gratefully, "Mr. Wade, you are so kind to me, I don't know how to repay you." When she said this, Warnya's inner monologue was, "If it is possible, I really want to acquiesce by myself, to accompany Mr. Wade in this life, and to serve in front of you throughout this life, to repay you for the kindness." However, in this case, she will be embarrassed to say such a thing for a proud lady of the big family. Charlie was very indifferent to this. Because he himself is a person who values love and righteousness and knows the gratitude. Although Warnya is not his benefactor, she is his friend, and she is a trustworthy and heart-to-heart friend. To such friends, he is naturally full of sincerity. What's more, Charlie always faintly felt that Warnya seemed to have a slightly different meaning to her from ordinary friends. In Charlie's heart, he admired Warnya's personality and Warnya's behavior style. Moreover, he felt that Warnya's fate was similar to her own, both of whom were born well, but her parents died young. But her life was a little better than her own, at least she didn't leave the family and fled to another country. It was just because he admired Warnya's personality and cherished her love, so Charlie wanted to take care of her a little more, and it was a natural feeling in his heart. Warnya deliberately didn't drive the car fast, so that she would have more time to be alone in the car with him. The Songs Villa and the Thompson where Charlie lives are separated by a magnificent Yangtze River. So when Warnya drove the car near the river bridge, she suddenly turned to look at Charlie, her eyes full of expectation, and said, "Mr. Wade, if you are not in a hurry to go home, can you accompany me to the riverside for a walk?" Charlie nodded and said, "Okay." Warnya said with joy, "It's great. I know that there is a place that is very quiet and there are no people around. We can take a walk on the river beach and blow the wind." With that, Warnya drove the car onto a small road along the river. After the car drove out for a kilometer or two, she parked the car on the side of the road and said to Charlie, "There is a road to go down here, let's get off here." Charlie nodded, opened the door and walked down. The weather is getting colder now, but for him, it has no effect. Warnya put on a furry coat. Inside was the noble and elegant evening dress that she wore at the birthday party, and she also held a red Hermes handbag in her hand. A cold wind hit her, and her long flowing hair danced with the wind, and a few strands of blue silk were blowing her face, looking quite charming. There is no front or rear here, no people and no cars. Warnya took a deep breath against the wind, and said with a smile, "When I was young, I always liked to be by the river. When I grew up, I got busier and busier and I didn't have time." With that, she said to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, let's go down." Charlie responded and said, "Okay, but this staircase is a bit steep. Be careful when you descend." Warnya shyly stretched out her soft hand and handed it to Charlie, and said softly, "Mr. Wade, can you help me with your heart here? Otherwise, I'm afraid I might fall." In fact, she was not afraid of falling, but wanted to take this opportunity to get closer and closer to Charlie. Charlie saw that this stone step was indeed very long and quite steep, extending from the bank to the river beach. Warnya, a girl, would really slip and fall, the consequences would be disastrous. So he took Warnya's soft jade hand, led her to walk carefully, and walked down the stone steps. At this time, the river beach was also empty, and occasionally a few ships with lights on the river passed by. The rumbling diesel engine made a loud noise, but it didn't feel very noisy on this empty river surface. After arriving on the river beach, Charlie let go of Warnya's hand, facing the cold wind on the surface of the river, smiling and saying, "This place is really good." Warnya smiled slightly, stroked the blue silk between her ears, and said, "When I was young, I liked coming here the most. Back then, my father was busy with work, so my mother brought me here every day." As she said, she sighed a little sadly, and said, "At that time, my mother would drive with me, park the car in the same place, and then walk down the same stone steps, just like you just now, so cautiously taking my hand." Charlie nodded lightly. When he grew up in an orphanage, he often thought of his parents. When they were young, they were not as strong as they are now. Whenever they think that they would hide under the covers or cry in the corner. But after a long time, he gradually got used to it. The hard life at the beginning made him understand a lot of precious truths. For example, the deceased is dead, such as the sad things that happened in the past, let it pass quietly. At this time, Warnia sighed, I went to my parents to sweep the grave this morning. I couldn't believe it. They have been away for more than 10 years. Everything from my childhood is still vivid in my eyes. There is an illusion that I feel like I am still alive when I am 8 or 9 years old. Charlie laughed at himself and sighed softly, you can still go to sweep the graves of your parents. I don't know where my parents are buried now. Hey? Warnia asked in surprise, can't you find it? Or what happened back then? Charlie smiled bitterly, when my parents passed away, I was just 8 years old. At that time, I couldn't take care of myself. I didn't even know where to solve my full meal. I simply didn't have the ability to handle their funeral affairs. By the time it has not been found. After speaking, Charlie said again, however, their ashes may have been taken back by the grandfather's family, but I am not sure about the details. Warnia couldn't help asking him, Mr. Wade, do you still have relatives in this world? Charlie nodded, yes, but I am not ready to see them yet. Warnia nodded lightly, blinked her beautiful eyelashes, and said, Mr. Wade, let's take a walk along the river. Okay. Charlie readily agreed, and walked side by side along the river with Warnia. Warnia smiled and said, by the way, Mr. Wade, do you remember the first time we met? Charlie smiled and said, of course, in Jikingtang, my father-in-law accidentally broke one of your antique vases. Warnia nodded and said, at that time, I was shocked by the way you repaired the vase. I thought how could a young man master the lost repair skills? This person is too good, I said to myself. However, I never dreamed of it at that time. That's actually just the tip of the iceberg, Mr. Wade, and I didn't expect that you would help me so much. Charlie recalled the process of getting acquainted with Warnia, and felt it was really amazing. If he didn't go to Jikingtang with Jacob at that time, he would naturally have no chance to get the 9 profound heavenly scriptures. If there is no 9 profound heavenly scriptures, then he is at best Mr. Charlie rather than the admired and famous Mr. Wade. In contrast, he still prefers the title of Mr. Wade, because Mr. Wade is a 4-character word, and he used his own strength to exchange it. As for Mr. Charlie, that is just his own life experience. The characters behind Mr. Charlie represented is not his own ability, but the ability of the family. Therefore, he felt that these were fate. He has a relationship with Warnia, and also with the 9 profound sky classics. So he said to Warnia with a serious face, people say acquaintance is fate, in fact, many things are already destined in the dark. Warnia blushed, and asked in a low voice, Mr. Wade, you mean that we two are destined to have a relationship, right? Yeah. Charlie said with a smile, it takes 100 years to cultivate in the same boat, but the same boat is only the fate of acquaintance. From acquaintance to becoming a friend, how can you say it has 200 or 300 years of fate? Warnia nodded lightly and said softly, Mr. Wade, you always speak very mysteriously. Does an expert like you believe in fate and destiny? Charlie smiled and said, I didn't believe it before, but after something happened, I slowly began to believe it. As he said, Charlie waved his hand, don't talk about it anymore. I don't mean much. Tell me about you. You are now the patriarch of the Song family. What are your plans next? Warnya said seriously, I became the head of the family, and there are still many people who are not convinced. Therefore, I need a period of time to constantly consolidate my position as the head of the family, and then lead the family forward. If the family is under my leadership, I can have rapid development under the government, so that other family members can make more money, then I believe they will definitely support me. Charlie nodded slightly and said seriously, this idea of yours is right. For most people, they just want to make more money. After all, Charlie said again, now it is a good opportunity for the Song family. The Wu family is obviously not good enough. The status of the first family in Oris Hill has been vacated. I think now is a good opportunity for the Song family to rise. Warnya said, I also want to go out and run more during this period to see if I can expand the business of the Song family. It is best to find some new partners. Charlie asked, is there anything I can help with? If you need my help, you can just say it. Song Manting hurriedly said, Mr. Wade, you have helped me too much, saying that you can no longer help me. On the contrary, if you have anything useful to me in the future, please do not hesitate to speak. I really hopes to have the opportunity to repay your kindness. Charlie smiled and said, you don't have to always pay back to me. If I need your help in the future, I will definitely not be polite to you. Warnya nodded lightly and said, okay, Mr. Wade, I understand. Charlie hummed, Warnya, after you go back, just give that rejuvenating pill to your grandfather, he will be very happy. Warnya hurriedly said, I understand. Charlie smiled slightly, looked at the time and said, okay, it's getting late, let's go, I believe Mr. Song must be waiting for you to return now. Warnya felt very sad, she had never had this kind of opportunity to get along with Charlie privately. Especially in one of my favorite places since I was young. At this moment, how much she wanted to take the initiative to hold Charlie's hand and tell him what she wanted. But when she thought that Charlie was a married man with a wife, the impulse in her heart was immediately suppressed. So she could only say softly, okay, Mr. Wade, in that case, let's go back. The two returned to the stone steps that they had come down at that time. Warnya's heart was bumped like a deer again, she didn't know whether Charlie would still hold her hand. She really enjoyed the feeling of being led by him. You can make yourself feel happy sincerely. Because this stone step is really steep, Charlie didn't think much about it, so he stretched out his hand and said to her, I'll take you up. Warnya's heart was filled with the shyness and excitement of the little woman, and she stretched out her hand happily, letting Charlie lead her. As for herself, following Charlie cleverly, she walked up step by step. Back in the car, Warnya's pretty face was still red. Because of nervousness and shyness, her heartbeat was much faster than usual. She started the car in a panic and said to Charlie, Mr. Wade, I will take you home now. Charlie nodded, and Warnya drove the car back to the road. The car crossed the Yangtze River and came to the door of Thompson Villa. After the car stopped, Charlie said to Warnya, "Thank you for the lift." Warnya said hurriedly, "Mr. Wade, you don't have to be so polite." Charlie said, "Drive slowly on the way back." "It is okay." Warnya nodded reluctantly. Seeing that Charlie was about to push the door to get out of the car, her heart moved, and she hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, wait a moment." Charlie retracted his hand to open the door and asked her, "What's wrong? Is there anything else?" Warnya said shyly, "I still have a gift to give you." Charlie smiled and said, "Today is your birthday, why did you prepare a present for me?" Warnya twisted and said, "It's a rather special gift. In fact, I always wanted to give it to Mr. Wade, but I never had a chance." Charlie nodded and smiled, "Well, then I will thank you first." Warnya replied shyly, "In order to maintain mystery, please close your eyes, Mr. Wade." "Okay." Charlie didn't think too much, always feeling that this should be the kind of ritual feeling peculiar to girls, so he closed his eyes. After a while, Charlie suddenly felt that a pair of soft lips had actually stabilized his mouth. The lips were not only soft, but also a bit sweet. After kissing him, they didn't go away immediately, but kept pressed against his lips like this. Charlie was startled, and subconsciously opened his eyes, and saw Warnya's beautiful eyes close at hand. He really didn't expect Warnya to kiss him. At this moment, he instinctively wanted to avoid, or gently pushed Warnya away. However, deep in his heart, he felt extremely struggling and tangled. This kind of struggle and entanglement prevented him from making any movements for a while. Warnya kissed actively for a full minute. Charlie didn't expect Warnya to take the initiative to kiss him. To be honest, although he is the young master of the Wade family and Master Wade whom everyone admires in Oris Hill, he really has no experience with women. Before that, his closest contact with a woman was the light kiss with his wife Claire. However, that time was just a quick tasting. In contrast, Warnya's kisses are more real, and they make the body feel softer. Charlie was a little flustered at once, so flustered that he didn't know what to do. Warnya might be too tired to turn around and cross the center console to kiss Charlie. After a minute, she couldn't hold it anymore, so she blushed and sat back on her seat. At this time, Warnya's pretty face was already red and could be bleeding. Even the roots of the ears hidden in the blue silk are red. Warnya dared not look at Charlie, but observed at the steering wheel, nervously not knowing what to do. And Charlie also felt nervous. In the car, there was an awkward silence for a while. It was Warnya who broke the silence first. She whispered to Charlie, "Mr. Wade, it was just a momentary excitement. If you are offended, please forgive me." Charlie coughed dryly, and said awkwardly, "This, you and me speaking of this." Charlie obviously hesitated. He didn't want to hurt Warnya. Well, and can't bear to hurt her. So, he could only sigh, and said, "Warnya, I'm already married, you know." Warnya nodded repeatedly, and whispered, "I have heard about Mr. Wade and his wife." After that, she plucked up the courage to look at Charlie, and said seriously, "Mr. Wade, I love you sincerely, and also sincerely wants to be with you. I know that Mr. Wade has been married." "You're married?" and I am indeed not ethical justified to do this, but I feel that everyone has the right to pursue love, and I am the same. Charlie said with emotion, "You are indeed a good girl, but I am a married person." Warnya said stubbornly, "Mr. Wade, I heard that your wife has been married to you for more than 3 years and there is no real husband and wife relationship between you two. You and your wife were married only under the arrangement of your wife's grandfather. I really want to know, I don't understand, why are you keeping a marriage that has not been consummated for more than 3 years and not let go?" As she said, she gradually became agitated and said with red eyes, "I feel wronged for Mr. Wade from the moment I met. Oris Hill respects you as a true dragon on earth. This is because everyone knows you. The strength is extraordinary, far surpassing ordinary people in the whole Oris Hill, but I don't understand, since you have such abilities, why do you have to join Wilson family and become a son-in-law who has no de facto marriage?" Charlie smiled bitterly and said, "Claire is kind to me, how can I leave her because I have some ability?" When Warnya heard this, tears burst into her red eyes. She said, "What your wife can give you, I believe I can give you, what your wife can't give you, I can still give you." Speaking of this, she turned her face and looked at Charlie earnestly. While crying, she said emotionally, "Mr. Wade, if you can accept me, I'm willing to give up myself and the entire Song family. If I am the Song family, I will become the Wade family. You are the head of the Wade family. I want nothing else in this life, I just want to be your lover and serve you. I will give up the entire Song family. Wandering around with you, if you like children, Warnya will give for you a few more births. As long as you are happy, I can do anything." Charlie couldn't help being touched. From any point of view, Warnya is a superb beauty of 1 in a million or even 1 in a billion. She not only looks outstanding, but also has a very pleasing personality. She has received a very high-end aristocratic education since she was a child, and her ability is also extraordinary. It can be said to be a model of virtues among the rich ladies. Even the big families of East Cliff may not be able to produce such an excellent girl. Therefore, it is a blessing that such a good girl can like him. But it's a pity that he is indeed a married person, and the feelings for Claire in his heart are still very deep. It is impossible for him to leave her like this. However, seeing Warnya cry into tears, he couldn't bear it. He didn't want to see Claire hurt, but he didn't want to see Warnya hurt either. For a while, he was completely caught in a dilemma. Warnya has been looking at him affectionately, looking forward to his reply. Charlie was silent for about 2 or 3 minutes, sighed, and said, "Warnya, I know your thoughts, and I am very grateful, but I really can't leave Claire, so please forgive me." The tears that Warnya had just stopped came to her eyes again. Those bright red eyes observed at Charlie, and said affectionately, "It doesn't matter, Mr. Wade, I know that you may find it difficult to accept me, but I am willing to wait forever, even if the sea is dry and the world is old, I am willing to wait forever." Charlie sighed, "Why waste great youth on me? There are so many men in this world that are better than me. Don't joke about your lifelong happiness, let alone be arrogant." "No," Warnya said categorically, "this is definitely not a matter of motivation, and I don't think there can be a better man in this world than Mr. Wade. I grew up with a very stubborn personality, no matter if I like someone something, or if you like someone, as long as I like it, it will never change." As she said, she raised her wrist to reveal the old bracelet that her mother left for her, and said seriously, "Just like this bracelet, there are more beautiful, luxurious, and priceless bracelets in the house than it is. But I don't like any of them, I only like this one, and I like it for a lifetime, and I will never give up halfway or change my original intention." Charlie said sincerely, "Warnya, you are 26 years old today. In a big family, you have reached the best age for marriage. In the next 2 to 3 years, you should find a great man to marry. It's not worth putting your heart on a man like me, let alone I'm still a married man." Warnya blurted out, "I am willing to wait." Charlie sighed, "Why are you waiting for me? Are you waiting for my divorce? But if I don't get a divorce in the future?" Warnya said stubbornly, "I am willing to wait." Charlie helplessly, "Take 10,000 steps and say, even if I am divorced, you dignified Miss Song family, marry me this second married man, are you not afraid that others will laugh at you?" Warnya shook her head and said, "Not afraid. As long as Mr. Wade doesn't dislike me, I am not afraid to be your lover. As long as I can be with you, even if the whole world comes to poke my backbone, I am not afraid." Charlie felt quite helpless to Warnya. He really didn't expect that she could be so attentive to him, and at the same time, he did not expect her character to be so stubborn. He didn't want to provoke her right and wrong, but he didn't intend to confuse her. Now, she has such a deep love for him, she is not without responsibility. But he also knew in his heart that feelings could not be solved overnight. So Charlie could only persuade her and said, "Let's talk about this matter later. Let's give each other some time." Warnya looked at him nervously and asked softly, "You won't be unwilling to talk to me from now on? Will you deliberately alienate me in the future?" Charlie smiled and said, "Why? I'm not that kind of person, it's impossible because you said you like me, I will alienate you." Warnya breathed a sigh of relief and said, "In fact, I have already done it. It takes a long time to realize this dream. Let alone 10 years and 8 years, even 20 years is not long in my eyes. I have only one request, that is, in any case, but don't deliberately alienate me. Even if you don't like me, please treat me as your friend as before." Charlie said seriously, "Don't worry, I will never alienate you. What we were like before, we are still like now." Warnya nodded gently. Charlie sighed and said, "Okay, it's getting late, I have to go home, you should go back soon." Warnya hummed, and said, "Good night, Mr. Wade, thank you for your appreciation today and the rejuvenation pill you gave." Charlie smiled and waved his hand, "You don't need to be so polite, I'll go back first, you drive a little slower." After speaking, Charlie opened the door to get out of the car. Warnya hurriedly stopped him, "Mr. Wade." Charlie turned his head and looked at her, "Is there anything else?" Warnya blushed pretty and said shyly, "It's okay, I just wanted to tell you that it was my first kiss just now." Even Charlie blushed a little by her words. He didn't expect Warnya to still retain the first kiss, and also gave the first kiss to him. As the saying goes, it is the most difficult to accept the grace of beauty, especially for a man like him who is affectionate and righteous. He didn't know what to say in response to Warnya, was silent for a moment, and said sincerely, "Thank you." Warnia smiled sweetly and shyly, and said, "Mr. Wade, then I'll leave now." "Yep." After getting off the car, watching Warnia drive away from Thompson, he stood there for 10 seconds before turning around and entering the gate of Thompson. When he returned to his home, his wife Claire had washed up and was lying in the bedroom reading a book. Seeing Charlie's return, Claire smiled and asked, "How was your friend's birthday party?" Charlie felt a little unnatural, and replied, "The banquet was not bad." Claire didn't know that Warnia was celebrating her birthday tonight. This was mainly because Charlie didn't want her to think too much, so he didn't say it. Claire didn't find anything wrong with Charlie. She put down the book in her hand, looked at Charlie, and said with some embarrassment, "Husband, can I ask you something?" Charlie hurriedly said, "What are you doing so politely with your husband? Just talk about it." Claire said, "I have a high school classmate who is going to get married sometime later. They came to my studio today to give me invitation. Can you accompany me then?" Charlie smiled and said, "Of course, I'll." "Is it a male or female?" "Female." Claire said, "When we were in the 3rd year of high school, we had been at the same table for a while." Charlie nodded and said, "Since it is a wedding at the same table, we must go." Claire hesitated and said, Husband, I have one more thing I want to ask you for help." Charlie said, "You just say it." Claire said seriously, "This high school classmate's life is not very good. The family has always favored boys over girls and didn't care much about her, and she was married by Fengzi this time, so her husband's family is not very esteemed at her. She thinks today. She begged me to drive my BMW to make her the first car for her wedding. She may think that the BMW is already very luxurious, but you also know that nowadays in the city, the first car for the wedding team is at least for a luxury car over $1 million class. It's not possible to start with the BMW 5 Series, so I want to beg you, can you lend one of the 2 luxury cars from Mr. White and Mr. Steven?" Charlie asked in surprise, "It's okay to borrow a car. I haven't driven since that auto show." "But, my wife, I've only heard of a fleet of family members and never heard of a fleet of married couples. What is the rule?" Claire said, "My high school classmate used to live in school. Her family was in a county around Oris Hill. It stands to reason that when she got married, it was the groom who brought to pick her up, but the groom's family looked down on my classmate. Yes, he deliberately made a harsh request, saying that he would not go to pick up the family when they get married, and let her mother's family drive to the hotel, so she just said." Charlie couldn't help frowning. This groom's family has done too much, right? She is pregnant with his child. When they got married, they didn't go to the house to pick up their relatives. Claire sighed, "No way, my classmate is also very uncomfortable. The man's family despises her and is unwilling to give a penny gift. Her mother's family originally expected her to have some gift for her brother when she got married. When she bought a house, they didn't give her a penny, so my classmate's family didn't want her to marry, but my classmate insisted on marrying, so whether it's her future husband's family, or her own family, they all have opinions on her. It is kind of pitiful." Speaking of this, Claire hugged Charlie's arm and swayed vigorously, begging, "My husband, I know you have the best skills, and I know that you are usually low-key, but can you help? On the day of my classmate's wedding, she can drive a sports car to marriage? I also wanted to save her face so that her husband's family would not bully her too much in the future. Please, husband. Charlie smiled slightly and said dozingly, since she's your high school classmate, how can you drive one? Just leave both of them. Then I will drive one by myself. You drive one. You drive one. With your classmate, are you satisfied with this arrangement? Claire was overjoyed, immediately hugged him, kissed him on the lips, and said happily, satisfied. So satisfied. You are really the best husband in the world. Charlie was stunned on the spot. What happened to him today? Is the peach blossom blooming? At this moment, Warnya drove back to the Song family mansion. On the way back, she recalled her bold kiss to Charlie just now, but she was still ashamed. Actually, Warnya is not a woman who is very active in feelings. There have been countless people who have pursued her since childhood, but she has never been moved by any man who pursued her. Not only that, she hadn't even liked anyone before meeting Charlie. But she herself did not expect that after she fell in love with him, it would be so uncontrollable. If the matter just spread out, the title of the First Lady of the Oris Hill First family would soon become the laughing stock of the whole Oris Hill. After all, in the eyes of ordinary people, how can a girl be so unreserved? What's more, she took the initiative to give it to Charlie. She still kept the first kiss of 26 years. However, Warnya didn't regret it at all. At the same time, she also decided in her heart that she would use time and practical actions to prove to Charlie that everything she said was from the bottom of her heart, and that she was willing to wait for him, and she would wait forever. When Warnya drove the car into the yard when she got home, Boyle hurried forward and said respectfully, "Miss, please park your car here. I will help you in the garage." Warnya said, "No need for Boyle, I can do by myself." "You can go and do your job." Boyle hurriedly said, "So how come, miss, you are now the patriarch of the Song family, and you can leave many things to us subordinates to do in the future?" While speaking, Boyle whispered again, "Miss, Master is still waiting for you." When she heard that Grandpa was still waiting for her, Warnya nodded hurriedly, left the car to Boyle, picked up her bag, and walked into the house. At this time, all the Song family members were sitting in the living room of the Song family meeting. Although Warnya's birthday party was over, no one dared to leave because Mr. Song didn't say to leave. Moreover, all those who are interested have discovered that Mr. Song didn't even sit on the main seat this time. The design of the Song's living room is similar to that of a large company's meeting room. There is a main seat directly in front, and there are 18 seats on the left and right sides of the main seat. Usually Mr. Song must sit on the only main seat, but this time, he actually chose to sit on the right-hand side of the main seat. Everyone knew very well that he left the main seat to Warnya. Honor and his father Tianming sat blankly opposite the old master. What happened tonight was like a nightmare for the father and son. And from this nightmare they haven't woken up yet. It is impossible to wake up. The old master Song wanted to help Warnya to rise, and even if the father and son wanted to stop, they couldn't stop them. After all, the current old master Song has a strong body and a very good spirit, not only has a strong judgment, but also a strong control ability. In this case, even if the father and son had great opinions, they could not disobey the decision made by the father. As long as he is there, Warnya will have a strong support. And what makes them even more desperate is that old Master Song was already dying ill before, but now he is as healthy as a middle-aged man. This also means that the lifespan of the father is at least 10 to 20 years. Although Warnya is still fledgling, the old master helped her get on the horse and tried his best to escort her. In a few years, Warnya will be able to establish a real paternal position in the Song family. At that time, it would be very difficult to want to engage in Warnya. As we all know, like the emperors in ancient times, the best time to rebel is when the new emperor takes the throne and the foundation is unstable. Just like the king of Yan Zhudi of the Ming dynasty, he took advantage of the unstable foundation of Emperor Jiangwen and rebelled and seized power in one fell swoop. However, the problem right now is that Warnya is not Emperor Jiangwen. When Emperor Jiangwen ascended the throne, the old master Zhuang was already dead. If Zhuang was still alive and gave Zhu Diten courage, he would not be able to rebel successfully. Now, Mr. Song is living well. This made Tianming and Honor very depressed. At this time, they had no way to change the old master's decision, so they could only bear it down temporarily and then look for opportunities in secret. When Warnya came in, Mr. Song said with a smile, "Our new generation of patriarch of the Song family is back. Warnya, come on, sit on the main seat." Warnya thought that only her grandfather was waiting for her, but she didn't expect the entire Song family to be waiting, and she didn't expect her grandfather to let out the main seat to her, which made her a little flattered. So Warnya hurriedly waved her hand and said, "Grandpa, it's better for you to sit on the main seat, and I can sit next to you." Father Song smiled and said, "I am no longer the patriarch, so how can I sit in the patriarch's seat? Wouldn't it become a corpse seat vegetarian meal?" As he said, he stood up, took Warnya to the main seat, and let her sit down. Then he laughed loudly, "God bless my Song family, not only is there a god like Mr. Wade to help my Song family behind. There are also outstanding juniors like Warnya to guide the family to greater glory. I believe that within a few years, the strength of the Song family will be greatly improved." Apart from Tianming and Honor, the other Song family members applauded warmly. They have also wanted to understand the truth. They knew that Warnya must have been Charlie's favorite, otherwise Charlie would never have helped her so many times, and he only gave 2 rejuvenation pills for her face. If you know this one rejuvenating pill, you will sell it to Taylor for 2 billion. The actual value of 2 rejuvenating pills is at least 4 billion, right? Now that Warnya is the head of the family, Charlie will definitely help her more in the future. With Charlie's help and support, the Song family will naturally get better and better. Father Song felt very pleased when everyone applauded eagerly. What he fears most is that Warnya will not be able to convince the crowd after becoming the head of the family. Once the people below have a mentality of rebellion and resistance to Warnya, it will be a big trouble for her. But fortunately, she has the blessing of Mr. Wade's, plus he is here to calm the scene for her. Her position as patriarch will definitely be able to be very stable. Thinking of this, the old master couldn't help but smiled and sighed, "In my opinion, it won't take long for our Song family to become the #1 family in Oris Hill. If Warnya is lucky enough to become Mr. Wade's wife, then my Song family is bound to be able to rise with the wind in the same day, soaring for 90,000 miles. Tianming, who hadn't spoken all the time, said worriedly at this time, "Dad, don't forget, today we provoked Dalan of the Kevin family, and I don't know how the Kevin family will deal with us next." Father Song said coldly, "With Mr. Wade here, I won't panic even if I offend the old master of the Kevin family, let alone the third young master." At this moment, late at night, East Cliff International Airport. Dalan's private plane landed at East Cliff Airport. On the way, he was in awe because he swallowed the ruby necklace. He was afraid that the necklace would cause intestinal obstruction in his intestines. In that case, even the gods of health would not be able to save him. Fortunately, he finally landed in East Cliff safely. As soon as the plane landed, it slid to the hangar, and in the hangar, an ambulance was already waiting. The Kevin family has extraordinary strength in East Cliff with assets of at least 500 billion, so they have more than just their own health doctors and expert teams, they even have their own private hospitals. The ambulance that came to pick him up at the airport at this time was sent by the Kevin Family Hospital. And the ambulance arrived together with the vice president of the hospital and several gastrointestinal experts. Hearing that the third young master swallowed a ruby not much smaller than an egg and a string of necklaces, the experts at the Kevin Family Hospital were quite nervous. Because swallowing foreign objects is a very dangerous thing. Especially if you swallow something larger and more complicated, the risk factor will be greater. Necklaces are not like a simple stone. If you only swallow a ruby and the gem is polished and rounded, then basically the problem will not be big, but there is still a string of platinum inlaid under the gemstone. The platinum necklace is very troublesome this time, it is easy to block in the intestines, and if the bowel movement cannot be discharged normally, I am afraid that it can only be operated on. Dalan was lying in the ambulance, and when he heard that there was a possibility of surgery, his face immediately became very ugly. He couldn't help but ask the expert, "Is there no other way besides surgery? I have never had surgery when I grow up." The expert hurriedly said, "Mr. Kevin, don't worry. Let's go back to the hospital to do a CT and see where the necklace is now. If it hasn't reached the intestines, then we can wait. See if it will be excreted by itself, but if it is already in the intestines and does not seem to be excreted by itself, then we can only resort to surgery." Dalan felt extremely depressed and asked, "If surgery is really required, how long will it take to recover before I can be as good as before?" The expert thought for a while and said, "If you want to take things out of the intestines, you must rest in bed for at least half a month after the operation. After the wound is healed, you can get out of bed and move around. It will take at least 3 months to recover." Dalan heard that he was going to stay in bed for half a month and recover for 3 months, and he was extremely angry. He gritted his teeth and asked, "Then how long will it take for me to have intercourse?" The expert said embarrassingly, "Intercourse is a strenuous exercise, and the main exercise part is the waist and abdomen. After your abdominal surgery, the most important thing to avoid is intercourse. It will take at least 3 months. Grass." Dalan was extremely depressed. This kid is an authentic color embryo. He usually travels among the flowers every day in East Cliff, and often mixes with various model stars and peripheral girls in various clubs. He spends time every day, even at the most exaggerated time indulging in such things. But once he heard that he might not be able to have S3X in the next 3 months, how could he accept it in his heart? This is like saying to a smoker who is addicted to cigarettes that he must not smoke for the next 3 months. It feels more uncomfortable than killing him. At this time, the expert in front of him couldn't help asking him, "Third young master, how did you swallow such a big necklace in your stomach? Is it swallowed by mistake? Or what's the matter?" Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.